Please tell me, Craig, what do those charts tell you?
Dom, the charts are starting to look a lot more constructive. We titled our most recent book, On the Ropes. And the markets clearly have been on the ropes this year with the worst start to 2022 in terms of equities and the bond market. But things are starting to look a lot more constructive, Dom. When we started looking at the S&P 500, we're reversing the downtrend we'd seen off of those April highs in here. And we're starting to see measures in this market that are really extremely oversold. The breadth measures that we look at, Dom, are at levels that we rarely have seen over the last 50 years. And there's a lot of investors at this point in time that are still too negative, and the breadth is just now starting to improve. And we think that the S&P 500 certainly is setting itself up for a pretty healthy rally. And at this point in time, Dom, we reiterate our year-end objective of 47.75 by year-end 2022.
All right, so 47.75, it's just a hair below 4,000 right now, so that's a meaningful move higher. Where exactly are you seeing the pockets of strength right now within that overall trade? You're looking at the S&P 500, but it's a market of stocks, right? So what's going to be the leadership here? Is it back to technology?
Dom, it's going to be a couple things. Usually coming off of these lows, it's led by healthcare stocks, it's led by technology, and it's usually led by consumer discretionary stocks. And what we have done is we just upgraded the healthcare sector. And so we think that's going to be a leadership area in this market. We also think that energy is going to do well also. Seen a lot of constructive charts there. But coming back to healthcare, we see so many stocks from a bottoms-up perspective inside of healthcare right now, whether it's some of the device companies or whether it's specifically the biotech stocks. They've really bottomed. They've already been beaten up for 18 months. And as my good friend often says, one doesn't get hurt falling out of basement windows. That's kind of where you're at for some of these tech stocks and also for the healthcare stocks, specifically biotech.
Now, if you look at those setups, there have to be places, you kind of mentioned biotech and technology. Are there any of them that seem compelling to you that you would call best ideas right now with regard to some of the individual names that you're kind of seeing? Are there industry groups that are represented more within those particular sectors?
Yeah, absolutely. When we go through and look at some of these industry groups, I would tell you stocks like, CRISPR Therapeutics. Looks like a stock that's setting a bottom in here. I'd also point out that stocks like Shockwave inside of healthcare are another one that looks constructive. Biogen, ticker BIIB, is another one that we would call it as constructive here this morning too. And then, Dom, if you switch over and think about technology, we've seen a lot of pain in technology, but there's things like Arista Networks, which look like they're making a bottom, and also Snowflake, On Semiconductor. And these are some of the stocks that have been beaten up the most, but the charts are starting to turn. And I look at the stock market and I look at these charts, and they're all turning a lot more constructive. And I think we need to pay attention to it, because I don't think a lot of investors are looking at what can potentially go right. Everybody's looking at what has sort of gone wrong so far.